Alright, so I was just getting ready to work on this Kubota in here, and then Hudson decided he'd do that just exactly where I was going to lie down. So yeah, maybe we'll do it outside. That's what we need to get at right there. There is our drain for the radiator. And luckily, yes, it does move. It's not going to break off my hand. So, right, before we do that, what to do in here. So, this is our overflow bottle. Open that. Now for our radiator cap. You can see the top of the radiator there. Not much coolant in that. And every time I park it up, there seems to be a lovely trickle of coolant coming from it. It's nothing serious. I found out what the problem is. It's actually just a simple seal gone. Do you see the way it's all ripped? See there, the top? That's what's wrong. The radiator cap, once it gets pressurized, it's leaking. So that's why she's losing coolant. Now I would say I did clean the radiator on a video prior when we were working on this. That made a huge difference. I didn't think it would, but it did. This yoke was running fairly hot at times because these you have to run them at a very high rev. It's a hydrostatic gearboxes in them. You run them at a high rev the whole time. So when I was going back and forth to the farm, only short distances, it was getting hot, getting really hot. It was going up close to the red, and all of a sudden it'd get to the red and it'd just kick back to halfway. And the reason it was kicking back was the fan was kicking in. When I cleaned out the radiator, there was a lot of gunk there that let a lot more air through. I have found a massive difference. It doesn't just about cross the halfway mark and then it kicks back, and that's dead on. But our coolant is in very poor condition. I know more when we get some out of it, but it's very, very rusty looking. It doesn't look like it's been changed in ages, and they do recommend on these every 2 years you're supposed to change the coolant. I wouldn't even say this coolant is probably just water that was fired into it. So when we're here, we're going to actually do a flush and we're going to do a coolant change. I'm just going to try to aim. Oh, nope, not. You can see the colour of the stuff that's on the ground there. We'll have a look at it when we pull it out, but also quite low. There should be about a gallon in this. There's far from a gallon in that, so it obviously had leaked out quite a bit through that cap, and I hadn't noticed it. I think everybody agreed it was time to do that. Look at the colour of that stuff, and it's thick as well. Yeah, not good. What I'm going to do here is a bit of hot water. I'm going to spill this water all over the place, put very little into the hole that I want to put it into. I'm going to gorge it around. I might stick the air compressor actually into it. Drain it a few times, get as much of that red stuff out, because I know there's a layer of it sitting on the bottom. Also going to put some water down into the radiator itself and let that drain down into that tank below, if you can see it down there. I have a long one of these, I just can't find it anymore. I've been searching there for the past half hour, so I'm just going to use this one. Oh. Oh. That's getting better now. That's much better. Just see, like here. It's alright. That seal's okay. I don't know if you can see down in there, but if you can, there'll always be a bit to scale, but it's a lot cleaner. Alright, we've all closed up. Let's just badly pour some water in here. And before we go any more, I want to actually put a radiator flush through this. This is a chemical that will clean the coolant system. Don't worry about brands. Just go into wherever you buy your bits and pieces and you'll get one of these anyway. So it says to half fill the radiator first and then pour this in top of it. Doesn't say how much to put in, so I'm just going to empty it all in it. Should nearly full. Squeeze that pipe. You'll see it bubbling. Alright, so I mentioned earlier on that our radiator cap wasn't the best. You can see the seal there is completely gone, and that's letting it leak. So on the old interweb, wasn't very expensive, but €6, maybe even less. I know the original one was, well, you might have to mortgage the house again. It's slightly different. It says it's for this model, but it looks different. That ain't for this model. No, don't tell me it's not. No, it's different here. You can see the way that one's spring loaded, so this is probably for, I don't know what it's for, but it's the same size, alright, but it just doesn't fit this radiator. That's a disappointment now. I didn't check that earlier. If I can get that rubber gasket out, it looks the same size. This one might work. Okay. Look at that. Out of the same size. You know something? They're not far off. It might be slightly, it might be stretched. I do believe we may have got lucky with this one. Getting very rusty already. But it is circulating. Alright, so in here, do you see this guy just above the alternator? It's an awful stupid place to put it, just above the alternator, but well, that is your bleed system, so loosen that off to let any air out of the system. Hopefully there'll be none. There we go. Give it a few pumps. There's no workshop manual to put this in at 35 Newton. So I'm just going to go with German spec, which is good and tight. That stuff that I put in, it said to let it run for 30 minutes on a fast idle, whatever a fast idle is, but a little bit more of a rev. Run that for 30 minutes and then it said to give it full welly for 5 minutes. So that's what I was doing there. I can tell you that the temperature gauge has not passed by that marker. It actually drops down every so often when the fan kicks in, so it hasn't went above the halfway mark yet. So I'm going to rev this for another 3 or 4 minutes to make sure that it doesn't increase anymore. And I'm going to go down and get lunch, let this sit for about a half an hour, 40 minutes or so to cool down. We're going to dump this stuff out. Hopefully it'll not be too bad, and then we'll get away with maybe one more flush and then we'll put coolant into it. So it's been 20 minutes now, just back up for lunch, and that yolk is just not cooled enough yet. So another little job that I want to do when I am here. A cow this morning that was in for AI, I kept her back in this shed. She didn't want to stay in the shed on her own, so she put her head out here and she pushed the sheet out of the door to see, could she see her friends who are making their way over to that hill. So yeah, simple little thing to fix, but if I don't fix it now, I'd end up taking that whole sheet off. So let's sort that real quick. Alright, so that fixes that. A lovely big snot right in my way. Alright, look at that stuff in my hand. How thick it is. It's done its job, it's breaking the stuff up, but this is going to take a lot of flushes to get rid of this stuff. That's desperate. I spilt it again anyway. Right, that's coming out clear now. Well, clearish. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is, I'm not going to put you through that because it takes hours of footage, but I'm going to run another flush. Not a flush, not use the chemical, just going to put water through it. I'm going to run it up to temperature again and do the exact same thing again, and then we're going to see what that looks like. And I have a feeling I'll have to do one more, possibly 3 flushes in total, and then we'll be fit to add a coolant. But we cannot be putting coolant into it with that stuff looking like that. So pick it up when we're at that stage. Alright, well, I've everything sealed up now, and finally we can add our coolant. That took 5 flushes, but look, it's done now. Trying not to spill too much of this. So this coolant here says on the container that it has a 2-year lifespan before it starts to lose its protectiveness. So right, so I'm going to let this thing run for a bit. I'm going to go around, I'm going to bleed the system just like you see me doing before. After you give it the first good drive, and just check your expansion tank, just check your levels again once all the air has gone out of the system. I'll come back in about 6 months time and I'll have a look at that again. It'll be interesting to see what it's like then. The oil in the engine is fine, it's not a head gasket problem because there's no contamination in the oil tank. The price for that is just a combination of probably using water, and that's probably what caused that corrosion, or just simply never been changed. And it took a few hours to do this. It was worth doing. And just by the way, if any of you have an issue with your temperature gauge on your dash, that one there, that's your temperature sender there. It's your spade connector. Just take it off, screw that fella out, and it's normally that there that's gone. That I've been using for the past couple of days, and there's no overheating issues now. It barely goes across the halfway mark, and that's the way we want it. Now, job we're at here. We used to walk down this pass where our cows, not us, our cows used to walk down and go out there at the very bottom and go over to the other farm in the summertime. Our cows used to be hunted to the other farm and they'd be there in the daytime after the first cut would be done, and then they'd be home at night time and they'd stay in the home place. So you can tell by looking at that pass it hasn't been used in a long time. The last opening is just up here, so the cows never go any lower than that, so hence the reason this is all kind of grown in. But there is a lot of gravel underneath. There's a good gravel base, and I had a kind of a decision to make. I just take the fence away, which is gone at the minute. The timber posts decide to lay down of their own accord, and just do away with that pass, or do I keep it open? Now, I have blocked off the pass there, but I can open that very, very easily. Another problem is if I don't bring this electric down here some way, then that well house down there, the fences around it, keeping the cows away from the well, it has no electric to it, so we'd have to put a battery fence around every time we put cows in here. But you forget to do it at times, and that's when the problem starts. So I think today I'm just going to put this fence back. Say we do have some ploughing to do at home, and once we start ploughing fields at home, we'll be a little bit shorter for grass. Might be fit to put the cows back over to the farm for a while and do what we used to do, because we have the numbers here to do it. And that was another reason why we stopped doing it. My father wasn't as available then, and you needed 2 people all times, one in front and one behind the cows. So we may do that again, and that will free up space here so we can start a kind of a process of reseeding, which we're going to be doing now in the next 5 to 6 years. Now there's lots of gravel here, so I'm hitting stones with this. No matter where I go, I'm going to hit a stone. It's inevitable. See? Plenty of these. This wire here that's disconnected is going to the wire that runs up along the shuck on the other side. Now, we had a couple of trees come down and has loosened that wire, so I've disconnected it for now until I get it fixed. But it's essential that that electric wire is up because there's a big deep shuck there, and because this pass is only a cow pass, it's not wide enough to bring a tractor or anything up. What can happen is cattle can nudge each other from side to side, and if you rush them, they could easily fall into that shuck. So I put an electric fence up there to kind of let them know that they're close to it. That's the best way of putting it. It's just another little job. I have many others to have to fix. So I'm just going to put an insulator around this. It's funny, no matter how long you're doing something, and I've been fencing a long time, just doing on our own farm and farms that I worked on. When I did this first on YouTube, a couple of people pointed out my mistakes. And one of the mistakes I was making was the way I was tying the wire onto me egg insulators here. So I was always just going straight with this one through this hole. So this hole would have been going to the post. This hole would have been going straight down. There probably is one or two there somewhere that I've still tied wrong, if I can find them. Yeah, here's one here. This one's tied right. This one's tied wrong. So that's the way I used to tie them. Funny enough, none of them ever broke, but it was the wrong way to do it. And when you think about it, and when it was pointed out to me, it actually makes sense to tie them the way I'm tying them now. So you do learn as you go along. And I was hands up in the air doing it wrong for a long time, and hopefully now I'm doing it right. But you look at, if you're never told, how can you ever learn? This guy here comes across and he'll link into this, so he'll put power around the well once the handle is hooked in. It's getting windy again, so I'm going to stick a mic back on. I have to admit, I never thought there'd be a day where I'd be putting a microphone on to go farming. That just goes on there like that. No, that's the wrong way around, Adrian. Goes on like that. There she is. Now, I have to tension it a wee bit, but not too much. Doesn't need a whole pile. I didn't bring the tool with me for tensioning it, just one that can do it by hand. But these are little grippets here that we're using, so they're kind of like a non-return clamp. You push the wire through and it won't pull backwards, and then you can reuse them because you can cut off the end, like the opposite end, and just pull it straight through, and then you can reuse them. Very handy wee yoke. They're around a long time, but I'm just wondering now, will it allow me to tension it enough by hand? Right. Quick run back up the house, and I got the tool that I need. So this little guy fits onto the wire and it just pulls. You have to be careful though, don't pull it too much because you could end up breaking something. That's just nice there now. Lovely tension on that wire, can you see it? That's good enough for us. No, now I bring down a lot of stuff on that yoke, but I always leave stuff behind. I forgot a pair of pliers, so and vice grips will always come in handy. And that's it, never going to move. They don't look ugly or anything. And they're there if you need to tighten that wire again. So that's that job done. We'll have power now in the well the whole time. We'll not have to worry about a battery fence. And we still have our pass if we want to use it. It's only a very small bit of ground. It's not going to make a whole pile of difference. A few people do ask me what I think of these steel posts. I'm not saying any brands or anything. I buy this stuff myself. Yeah, easy to put in. I still think the insulators could be designed better. Anyway, where there's a bit of a turn and an angle, it seems to me like that'd be very easy to pop off. If it flips down the bottom at all, it'll be off like that there in no time. And the issue with that is, because it's a steel post rather than a wooden post, if that touches steel, it's going to go straight to ground, and that's going to knock off the whole electric fence. Wood will insulate it a bit and you won't get as much of a pull away from it. That's probably a little bit of a downfall, but that's surely something very easy to fix. Maybe design a different one. Maybe there is one out there. Maybe lengthen these a wee bit. You have to still take these off to get the wire off because you twist it. So I can't see the reason why you can't lengthen these much longer, and that'll fix that problem. We are pulling electric fences to them now and pull them on a long span, like, because over there probably around 250 to 300 yards have a span across, and there's a nice bit of tension in that to get it good and tight. They seem to hold. Ground's an awful lot to do with it too. If you've really soft ground or boggy ground, it mightn't hold so well, but the fact that they're down the ground a nice bit, it seems to work here well for us. For barbed wire, that's the issue. I have used them down below there. These ones are too short. I'm not sure if you can get a longer version. I do see in America they're using different ones. I see in the UK a different brand as well that you can put down for barbed wire. Like, everything's great when it's in a straight line, but the reality is a lot of farms around here in Ireland have hedges that are weaving in and out and in and out and in and out, and very few fences are actually straight, and that's what the challenge can be. I did look up at plastic posts and I looked them up online, but I have to buy them in big pallets, a lot of them, and it costs a lot of money, so you don't get to try them. And if there had been any local to me, I could buy a few of them, maybe 10, 15 of them, and put them in and see what they're like, or even try different ones. That'd have been even better, even for the sake of a video, to see the difference between them. But for some reason, all the co-ops around us aren't stocking them, and I don't know why that is. Timber's still going out the door fast. I see that in places, and timber is just, it's a waste of time, and it's very demoralising to see the amount of fences that are broken over into the farm. It would suck the energy out of you to see the amount of work that was done and to see it all laying on the ground, back to square one. It's actually nearly harder to do these repairs than to put up a brand new fence. So I'm definitely going to use an alternative, steel, concrete or plastic. But anyway, that's that job finished. We're hoping now, next week coming, we're going to get better weather, because at the minute you can see I'm wearing a heavy jumper, which really, we're heading towards May now. It's very, very cold, gosh. We had a lovely spell for 3 weeks, but it was a spell that was all right to be out and working during the day, but grass didn't grow because we had very cold nights and we had frosts and we had all of that to come along with it, and you won't get growth when you have a frost and cold nights and a warm day after. Fields have got fertiliser that I am in now, and they should be lovely and black green nearly, and they should be growing. But there's a day there where wind would just literally cut the ears of your head. It's that cold. Cows are still really glad to get in at night, and they're eating their fill at night. We haven't had them out at night yet, which I'd love to see them out soon. It takes a lot of work off you in the mornings, cleaning slats and cubicles down, but hopefully next week, when the grass does start to grow and we know there's enough in front of them, we're fit to do that. And we'd also love to see these girls outside. More than anything. I know my girls keep asking me, Dad, when are the calves going outside? These calves here, they are ready to go outside, no doubt about it. You can see the size of them as well, like, you know, they're like whalens now, they've grown a tower, and I have to put that down, not to me, that's down to my girls. My girls have looked after the calves. They do all the calf work, the feeding, the checking on them. Well, I always throw my eye on them, but they do everything else, and they do it extremely well. And I can see that on the calves, so yeah, that's all down to them. We're going to get the fences ready tomorrow, get everything ready over in the other farm, like we normally do with our white tapes around, just till they get used to the electric fence. We've got to get that done and out of the way. And maybe we'll see what the weekend brings. I know they're talking about heavy rain again, but they're talking about a good week after that. They're talking up to 20 degrees, so maybe we might be fit to get these girls out of there. I know there'll be a celebration and a big yahoo in the house when the girls don't have to clean them out. And then one other thing that we had in here in this house, it's a cold wind, is we had this little girl. You want to go up and say hello? She's full as a tick. So this little Aberdeen Angus heifer was born on Easter Sunday. No other than Bo. So Bo had her calf at, I think it was about 8 or 9 o'clock on Easter Sunday. Aberdeen Angus heifer calf would pull the trousers off you if you went in. That's the type of them. And it was actually, I put a post up on Instagram. It was up in about 15 minutes already trying to suck. So them Aberdeen Anguses, they're a hardy animal. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there on that happy note. There's a lot of work to be done the next couple of weeks. Fingers crossed the weather allows us to get it done. But until then, we'll talk to you in the next one. That's hideous, that stuff. I'm just gonna put our sweet divine. It's like diarrhea. And that'd be good if I could. I'm sure I would.